Hi, everybody. Hello. I'm early today. I'm not late. Oh, my alarm telling me it's time. Get online. All right. Just letting you guys in. If you're in there, you can hear me. We're all good. Let me know. If you guys have questions, let's get to it today. I'm sitting in a room that's on fire. Don't know if you guys caught up with me yesterday for PRC's update. That was actually a lot of fun. We're going to do another one in Carson in person, probably the first part of January, so we can talk about the new laws and how they're affecting us. And something is on my glasses and I can't see, but that's normal for me, right? Right, you guys were very, very quiet this morning. Oh, no, none of you would have seen the live I was on yesterday. So here's what happened to Patty yesterday, okay? All of a sudden, my tripod started going, just the top portion. So I sunk down with it and I laughed. It's my old tripod, not the new one. I had my old tripod with me yesterday. And when I stood it back up in the middle of my live event, I pinched my finger. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's this huge blood blister. It ripped off my nail. I started crying right there on live webinar. Big old black tears running down my face. Oops. What are you going to do, right? Just cry with me, folks. Cry with me. It was bad. So today we'll talk about what's going on in LA County and a little bit more of the LA County's RSO and what their market rent is considered, what their per diem is, and we'll get involved in all of that. I'm just kind of waiting to see more people move. I'm early today, so we don't have a whole lot on here, and I know that we revamped for today. Does anybody have anything that they want to talk about in particular, or do you just want me to get into what market rent is for the county under the new program? You guys tell me. What do you want to talk about? You guys are quiet. Are you even there? Market rent for LA County unincorporated areas is considered $2,200 a month. Under the new LARSO with the county, you will have to wait until the tenant is market rent behind before you can do an eviction. So if your rent's only $400 or $500, you got to wait till you're $2,200 behind before you can serve the 3-day. Garbage. And the per diem on that, as you guys well know, I'm not happy with, is $207 a day, $66 for each adult and $33 for each child. And we're not in a big hurry to try to figure this out all right away, because several attorneys have already told me it's going to take the courts and the judges 6 months to figure out what the new rules are, and then they'll start implementing them. It's not something that happens immediately. Okay, so that's a good thing. Is everybody ready for the weekend? I am. And the holiday. Does anybody have any questions for me? Nothing? We got 5 people on here. Nobody said a word to me yet, so I'm wondering if you can hear me. Please, somebody type hello or something so I know I'm not all by myself. And I need to.
Hi, Patty. How are you? I enjoyed it yesterday. The overview of everything. Thank you.
Good. Did you learn something yesterday?
Did I win something?
Did you learn? Did you
go
learn?
Of course. Always.
At least I could show you guys how thick that new moratorium is for this county in the unincorporated areas. I mean, this is ridiculous. Everybody's on here. Okay. So what are we going to talk about today? What do you guys want to know? Because I will give you the gist of things, But for right now, don't panic about this LA County thing. LA County's eviction moratorium is supposed to end on December 1st. It was deemed unconstitutional by a federal court judge, and it will end on December 1st. There's no doubt about it. What we need to be aware of is all the municipalities are now going to come up with their own bureaucracy and BS. Okay, so now cities are coming up with things. So although the county may say, okay, we're back to business as normal, now your individual municipalities are adding additional protections. So with that being said, we need to be very cautious moving forward when it expires on December 1st, because we need to see what the municipalities will allow and not allow, and what changes they're going to make, because we're already seeing some of the cities come about with new moratoriums. So we'll deal with that as it comes about and as it evolves. I don't mean to backtrack, but on the county's unincorporated cities, there's a temporary rent cap from you're not going to be able to raise rents in unincorporated cities until 2024. It's imposing a temporary rent cap for next year, for January of 2023 through December 31st of 2023. The maximum allowable rent increase for fully covered rental units is going to be 3%, and luxury units will be at 5%. So they're also controlling how much of a rent increase you can do in the county, unincorporated cities. So it's running just like the city of LA, like it always has, and their ridiculous restrictions against landlords are in full effect. I mean, it didn't take them long. It didn't take them long. And after everybody signed up by September 30th, less than 10 days later, they got this 59-page memorandum of what the new rules would actually be. And that's what we're trying to sort out. It's a mess. It is a mess. It is just like the city of Los Angeles has infected 144 cities within the county, and they all have it now, and it's ludicrous. I try not to complain about it because I tend to see that I do a lot of complaining about these new laws, so I'm trying not to complain. But just to give you a quick lowdown on the hoedown regarding unincorporated cities of LA County, they're going to have a temporary rent cap through next year. A maximum allowable rent increase will be 3% for fully covered units, and luxury units at 5%. And then they're modifying the term for cause for an at fault termination. So they're doing some tweaking there, and requiring landlords to file for an unlawful detainer only if the tenant's rental debt exceeds 1 month of fair market rent, dependent on their rental size. It's currently $2,200 a month, roughly, for a unit within the county. So if your rent's less than that, you got to wait till they're at least $2,200 behind before you can start the eviction. It's ridiculous. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk to you guys about and just make sure you were aware. January, we're going to see some new laws come out. Don't know what all is going to go through yet. I'll know probably by the end of December, and I'll try to give you guys a heads up as soon as I got it. Okay. But we are going to see some new laws implemented January 1st on a state level. Also, some fair housing stuff's going to change, but not till January. Okay. And the reason why I try to not tell you exactly what's going on is a lot of times they change it and then they revamp it before they implement it. And I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to be, okay, this could happen, this may happen, this might happen, this, you know, I'd rather tell you, okay, here it is, rather than it could be this, it might be that. We don't need to fill our brains full of maybes. We want facts, right? Maybes need to go away. I try not to retain them at all. because until it becomes factual, I don't want to store it in my brain for, I got enough in there, you know, there's not a whole lot of room, trust me. But that's my theory is until it's law, I don't want to know about it. It's kind of nice to know things are lurking over us and what potentially might be coming, but I try not to focus there because we have enough changes that happen that are implemented immediately. Example, October 1st, tenants no longer have to pay for credit reports if they provide their own credit report when screening. They just come whenever they want to. So like I said, I try to wait until they're pretty rock solid right before the first of the year to start talking to you guys about what changes we can foresee happening. For that reason, they change, they get revamped, they get redacted, all kinds of weird stuff happens. A great example was the County of LA and this 59-page memorandum to their bureaucracy and bullshit. Remember I told you guys, this looks way too easy. They're letting people sign up for free until September 30th. And Larso's running it. So I got a feeling it's going to change. Man, 15 days after you had mandatorily sign up for free, you get a 59-page adjustment to their rules and regulations. I have to say, I did see that one coming. It was too easy. They made it sound way too easy. It's the government's version of bait and switch, right? But we have to do it anyway. There's nothing, and they encouraged us to do it so we didn't have to pay by a certain date. It is what it is. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? I know this is a weird Friday, but I was not fully functioning on Wednesday like I wished I would have been, but my Zoom was not properly working and I had a meltdown because I couldn't talk to all you folks. Does anybody else need me to go into more detail on what's going on in the unincorporated cities of LA County? I'll take that as no. Okay, good. So I don't have to dwell in that general area. All right, does anybody have anything else that they want to talk about? Just because I want to make sure that I address everything you guys have questions, concerns, and so forth about what's going on. I see my Roadrunner girls in here too. So if you guys need anything, let me know. PRC was great. I'm glad. Oh, they came out to you. Yes, Arlene? Tell me, I saw, yeah, okay. So Arlene sat through the PRC class yesterday. As soon as the PRC class was over, she was already on the phone with Yomara. I don't even know what happened. Next thing I know, Yomara's making an appointment to go out there and meet with Arlene's tenants. And Arlene, I believe, wanted a second opinion for something before she spent the money. Is that correct? Because I want to know this. Even if you unmute yourself and talk to us, I'm okay with this. So PRC went out there for you, and I want to assume that their response time was really quick. It says mute on the bottom screen. Just unclick mute and you should be able to talk. And then my next question to you was, oh, would you
okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. I had to get my glasses so I could see it.
Okay, so tell us what happened yesterday after the PRC class. You decided to call them and have them go out and do a free estimate and give you a second opinion on something?
Correct.
So how long was their response time?
I called them after the class, which ended at 1, and they were there at 2 o'clock.
Wow. And they do the free estimate?
They did the free estimate. They told me, he said, you know, he said I could lie to you and tell you you need fans and this and that and the other thing. He said, which would be $2,200. He said, but I couldn't sleep with myself at night. He said, you don't need anything. He said, and so I called Yomara today because I got a call. I had unfortunately not heard your story about not talking to the insurance company first.
Sorry.
So, yeah. So I called Yamara and I said the insurance agent called last night and said you canceled the appointment for today, which they had scheduled with a company that they had, because I didn't know of any company. And she wanted to know why, and I didn't answer. So I called Yamara and she got George, who's the head guy there,
Yep.
to
Yep.
talk with me. And I
Yep.
explained the situation, and he said, I will call her. I will take care of it for you and let you
Yep.
know what's happening. So it was a phenomenal referral. And if anybody has any issues, highly, highly, highly recommend them.
Do you know why they're open and honest with you? Because if I find out that they did something bad to one of my people, I won't work with them anymore. And that scares the crap out of them.
Yeah, well, they said, who referred you? And I said, Patty. Then they said, oh, from the webinar. I said, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Know if Widget's involved, because anytime you guys say, hey, Patty, I have this mold problem. What do I do? I'll say, okay, call Yamara. Here's her number. Well, they'll send a text message immediately saying, we have an appointment to go meet with your client. And then I'm, wait a minute, I'm not your client. Call your client. They're like, we want to let you know too, because we don't want you pissed off at us, Patty. We want you to know that we made it within that 1 hour time frame of a response. We want you to know that we did do that free of charge. We want you to know that we handled that. And I'm like, okay, because they're paranoid that I'm going to spread bad juju about them. But how could you talk badly about them? They showed up in an hour.
They were fabulous. I mean, the other company sent me a contract with no numbers, with anything, just to sign. And I'm like, I'm not signing this.
No.
But I did have one question for you, because I remember you telling us never to say the word mold. Is it moisture or is it mildew? I forgot what you say instead of mold.
Microbial growth.
Microbial growth. Okay.
Or for short, you could just call it growth, because it could be growth of mildew. It could be growth of mold. It could be growth of spores. You don't know what it's growth of. It's just growth.
Okay. There wasn't any, but I know that you always say never to say that bad word. And I just wanted to remember what it was. Growth. Okay.
The M word.
Patty, what about discoloration?
Hold on. You can use discoloration also. That's fine. But we don't like to use the M word in property management. It's like dropping the F bomb. It's similar. Okay. Mold is a bad 4-letter word. Okay. We just call it growth. Microbial growth is the correct term. You can't identify it as mold unless you're an industrial clinical hygienist. So don't call it mold. Microbial growth or growth or discoloration or something along those lines. Don't use the 4-letter M word. It's just like the F bomb. It's the M bomb.
Patty, do you have anybody that you use for bolting?
Anybody that I use for
bolting, earthquake bolting?
Oh,
retrofitting. Yeah.
Thank you. I was like, huh?
Sorry.
Actually, I grabbed some business cards at the last trade show for some people that I sat down and talked to. And structural wise, they knew the terminology and they had the answers to the questions I was asking them. So that always made me feel better.
Can you email me that or something, or text me that?
The business card, I got to go back to my desk and find it.
Okay,
I tried a lot for you guys to help you guys when you're like, I need a 1031 tax exchange. I'm like, oh, I got one of those too now.
Great.
But yeah,
thank you.
I don't want to say I know all the right questions to ask, but I've been doing this long enough. I know the questions to ask that are the people I don't want to deal with.
Yeah, no, I think I got ripped off. So I just want somebody to take a look.
Hey, no worries. I'd be more than happy to help point you in the right direction. And I'm so glad that PRC worked for you.
Yeah, they were great.
I can't say enough nice things about them. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and some people are texting things now. Hold on. PRC was great. Stephen, would you restate closures I have to make now to tenants? My building is in Hawthorne. Hawthorne is incorporated LA County, I believe. because Hawthorne has their own police department and their own city hall. So it is not unincorporated. If I'm mistaken, you tell me I'm mistaken. You're in an incorporated city in LA County in Hawthorne. So all of the LARSO for the county or the unincorporated city, as nicely as I could say this, does not apply to you. You dodged a bullet. Okay. The 144 cities in LA County that are unincorporated. The unincorporated cities now are governed by LARSO. Okay. So the disclosures that you would need in incorporated cities like Hawthorne would be if you're exempt from statewide rent control, the AB 1482, that would be a disclosure that you're required. And then the other disclosures that you're required by law would be lead-based paint, things along those lines, bed bugs, those addendums, the ones that are required by law. Hello, David, and welcome. I see you're on there. If you need something, David, let us know. We're openly talking because we don't have a lot of people in, so you get more of a one-on-one with Patty, and I'd be more than happy to help you with that, David, if you have something specific. That's not enough disclosures for me, so let me go back to disclosures. Lead-based paint, asbestos, bed bugs, swimming pool disclosure. I don't know if this is a multifamily community or family residence, so I don't know what all disclosures, but you want to make sure that you're doing the ones that are required by law. 1482, there's a new mold disclosure that's required. That came out January 1st of this year. It actually provides pictures of what they're talking about that's required to give to tenants. So I want to say there's about 7 disclosures that are mandated, meaning they are required by law. That would be your AB 1482, your lead-based paint, your asbestos, your bed bug addendum.
65.
Thank you, Prop 65. Come on, guys, get in my head, help me out. They're required by law. Yeah, so there's a list. I actually have a list of them. And if you want the list, I'd be more than happy to provide it for you. Sometimes it doesn't all come out of my brain like I think it should. And I appreciate all of you for helping me. Thank you, Arlene, for throwing in Prop 65. That one's also very important. At your lease contract is your opportunity to disclose everything you possibly can. Megan's Law, the database, all of that stuff. So there's a lot of things that are required by law for us to disclose in the housing community. We want to make sure our lease contracts have them and all of our addendas there. And then what happens is a law changes and there's a mandatory disclosure that we have to provide to the middle of their tenancy, because that's what California does, okay? So with that being said, just don't get upset if all of a sudden your legal counsel's telling you, hey, we gotta go do this. We need to serve this notice. We gotta let them know what's going on. We've been having that happen quite a bit in the state, unfortunately, because they changed the rules when the wind blows. Just so you understand the why behind it.
Patty, if you sign up recently with Section 8, they have all those you mentioned in the recent paperwork, including flood zone and all that. Is that okay? Is that correct?
Yes, you can use Section 8's contract and sign up with them, because you're right, you do have to disclose flood zones. There's quite a bit that you have to disclose that are mandated by law. And usually your lease contract has those little paragraphs in there that do the disclosures for you. And then if you don't have a little paragraph through it, then you'll have an additional addendum. If you have more than one addendum, they are called addendum. And I will tell you that my lease packet is probably about 49 pages for me. And that's in a single family residence. If you want to rent from me, you're going to go through about 49 pages in my lease packet. Clothesline drying racks, I got all kinds of rules and I disclose everything at hello so that we don't have any problems. It's also a good place for you to disclose and provide a copy of your CC&Rs if you have an HOA. Okay, so Patty has a list of additional addenda that's required by law and is also a good business practice. You also want to make sure you use your crime-free addendum. Your crime-free addendum says that they can't commit a crime on or near the property. And we have used that document to evict people that have done a crime on or near the property. So if your tenant is involved in a sex trafficking ring and we find out about it, we can then evict them if they committed a crime on or near the property. See how that worked? And that's your crime-free addendum. We always want to make sure we have a crime-free addendum in every one of our packets. That way, when a tenant does something they weren't supposed to, we can use it against them. It helps us take care of the problem when a problem arises.
How do you notify older tenants, Patty? How do you deal with the older tenants that never received this?
You can still give older tenants the disclosures when you do a lease renewal. You can, and this is what I tell an older leased tenant, meaning their lease is older, not that they are older, okay? So let's say they've been there for 8 years. What I do is say, hey, I was going through your rental agreement and I realized that it doesn't have all the disclosures that are required by law that protect you. So I was wondering if we could get a new lease contract signed just a month to month. I'm not trying to lock you into a term or anything like that, but just so that we have all the updated, all the disclosures so that you know you, the tenant. And that's how I sell it to a tenant. Okay. So what I tell them is I was reviewing your lease contract. I realized that it's quite old and there's been a lot of new laws that help protect you, the tenant, that aren't in this lease contract. So if you don't mind, I'd like to do a new 30-day month-to-month agreement just so that we can bring all the rules up current and make sure you have all the disclosures and you know what the rules are. It's the best way I can protect you, the tenant. And if you believe that for 1 minute, I have some beachfront property in Victorville I want to sell. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But you got to sell it to them. Okay. Yes. What do you got?
I just have a quick question. Do you suggest numbering all the pages to the lease, including all the CC&R and everything? And do you have them initial and date every page?
I have them sign every page if a signature is required. I have them initial if an initial is required. I do not number all of my addenda. You know how it says addendum number and that it's blank in the top right corner? I leave it.
So you don't, go through the lease and all the things and number the whole thing. So there could be like 80 pages. So you don't do that.
I still include all 59 pages of my lease contract and all that additional addenda. I just don't pages.
You don't number it. You don't number it. Okay.
No, I don't think we need to be that. I've never had a case where that was an issue ever in my career.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's the nicest way I could explain that.
Okay.
Okay, so don't worry about in the pages. I leave them blank because it just says addendum number. Who cares how many you have? You're gonna have a butt ton of them. And God knows during the tenancy, you may have to add some more. I mean, we may have to disclose about daylight savings time. Who knows? You never know. So I didn't mean to make you guys panic about that. But what I'm saying is they could pass a new law and require us to give an addendum at any time. Don't panic about it. Just make sure you get it done. That's all. That's the important part. If you guys need a list of additional addenda, I'd love to help you, but I'll be extremely honest with you. Because each property your addendum packets have to be property specific. Does that make sense to you? So when I go to a community to help somebody get their stuff dialed in. Let's say I visit a 16-unit apartment complex. I visit 3 single-family residents, and I deal with a 250-unit complex. The 250-unit complex doesn't have a pool, but the 16-unit does. So for that building, I need to have my pool disclosures. Does that make sense? Why I'm saying everything is property specific. If it wasn't built before 1978, you don't need lead-based paint. If it wasn't built before 1984, you don't need asbestos. Does that make sense? So when I build a packet for a property, as you're speaking of, give me your list, Patty, it has to be property specific. If you don't have any storage or garages and all they have is a carport or a parking space, then I don't need a garage addendum. I don't need a storage addendum. I don't need, are you understanding what I'm talking about? I'm going to want my barbecue addendum, my clothesline addendum, and they have to be property specific. So with that being said, I'd be more than happy to give you a list and send you a list, but you're going to have to go through and go what works for that property and what doesn't. Because if there's no pool, you're not going to have your pool lifeguard rules and that sort of thing. So that's what I mean about it has to be property specific. Okay, so I'd be more than happy to put together a packet for you that works for you. I know AGLA, if you're a member of AGLA, they have a checklist for a new move-in checklist. California Apartment Association has a new move-in checklist. I think a lot of the associations where you get your documents do. If you don't and you need somebody to sit down and help you figure out what other addenda you need, send me an email. I'd be more than happy to look at what you have so far. And then I'm going to ask you questions like, do you have a pool? Is there a garage? Is it a fenced yard? So I'm going to come up with more questions, but they're going to be property specific. So what I do, and maybe this will help you guys, is once I build a packet for a specific property, that is the lease packet for that property. Any new mandated disclosures, meaning required by law, get added to what's already there. Nothing gets taken away. It gets added to. Make sense? Okay. And then you may have another property where you have lease packets specific to that property. I hope that makes
very smart. Yeah.
Most sense to everyone. Right. That way, you don't have one lease packet that you use for everything. It doesn't work that way. They're property specific based on that when they were built and what amenities they have. So they have to be property specific for each lease you do. It has to stick with that property. I hope that makes sense. I mean, you could have 2 single family residences and you have one that was built in 1990 and one that was built in 1964. Your lease packets in the same city, right next door to each other, should be entirely different because one is disclosing against lead-based paint and asbestos and one is not. So I hope that part helps you understand. You can't just do a lease packet for you. It has to be property specific. If you only have one property, then it'll work. If you have more than one, it doesn't work. It might put you down the right road, but it might not cover your asset entirely. So if you need help putting together a packet that better protects your asset, give me a call, let me know.
Patty, what was that one for? You said a fenced yard. What is that?
Well, it's a big difference between somebody that has no fenced yard. If there's no fenced yard and they want to bring in pets and they have dogs, that's a problem.
Right. But if you have a fenced yard, there's no addendum that I need to put on.
No, I again, there's a lot of moving pieces that go on in Patty's brain when we're talking about addendums and protecting yourself. Pet addendum, mold addendum, clothesline dry rack addendum, lead-based paint, asbestos,
Barbecue.
AB 42, statewide rent. You know, there is a list of what you need.
Right.
And it depends on what's on your lease. And I'll give you an example. AGLA has in their lease contract a little blurb. It's about a paragraph and it talks about flood zones. natural hazard flood zones. There's also another little blurb in there about Megan's Law. Okay. Those are required by law. Those are your required addendums. And they're not on a separate piece of paper. It's just a little paragraph in the lease. Sometimes it can be just a little paragraph in the lease that you need to protect you. And if it's not in that lease contract, then you need the additional paper addendum with that verbiage on it to help protect you. Okay. And there's a butt ton of them. No joke. Anybody have anything else? Y'all know that if a tenant brings us a credit report when they're screening, we can't charge them. We just tell them thank you. Okay, everybody's quiet. That means nobody has anything. That's scary. All right, you guys, I'm glad everything worked with PRC for you, Arlene. I'm glad that they were honest with you and you saved a butt ton of money and it didn't cost you an arm and a leg to save a butt ton of money. That makes, knowing that I was able to help somebody else by utilizing a vendor that I have that I know does you right, makes me ecstatic. So thank you for that. Thank you for trusting me. And now you know you can trust them too. They're awesome. I love them. And the fact that they talk to your insurance company so you don't have to, priceless, priceless. I've had things denied in an insurance claim before because I didn't know any better. Now I know. Shut your mouth. Don't say nothing. They will hang you by your toenails. It is your adjuster's job to find a reason to deny your claim. That's their job. And they're tricky. They're tricky, believe it or not. So make sure you're cautious with that, careful with that, and just don't talk to them. What I gave a great example at PRC of what I say when my insurance company needs to be called. And all I tell them is my tenant called on this day at this time. I called the restoration company. Here's their name and number. I know nothing. That's all I got. You're going to have to talk to my restoration company. I don't have any other information. They called on this day at this time. I immediately called them. It just helps keep things clear. And the restoration companies, they know how to talk to these insurance companies. They deal with them every day. We don't. All right, I saw something else come on. Okay. All right, if nobody has anything else, I will end this for today. You guys all have a wonderful weekend, and we will be live on Wednesday. We'll do Wednesday with Widget the day before Thanksgiving. Happy Turkey Day. And we'll go from there. If anybody needs anything else, has any questions, feel free to find me, hunt me down. I will be cleaning my house and preparing because I have 29 people coming for Thanksgiving dinner. Should be quite interesting. Should be quite interesting. All right, you guys, be safe. I will see you next Wednesday, not on Friday. I did this because of the little mix up. But I will see you guys on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Be safe and be prepared. We usually get at least one oven fire during the holidays. Okay, so be prepared for that. Don't panic. And Arlene will tell you if that happens. Just call PRC. They're free and they show up in an hour. It's awesome. All right, you guys have a great weekend. If you need anything, you know how to find me. Bye, everybody.